This right here is my 1994 E36. So I just did a proper 9-hour road trip to pick up the new project that we're gonna be building on the channel. Now this really clean E36 shell is going to be getting this 07K swapped in underneath the hood. But before we get into that, and before maybe we talk a little bit more about this, we got to pull out the M44, which is probably the worst four-banger to come in one of these cars. Thankfully, it is the four-banger, which means we have a little bit more room of actual wiggle to get the motor out in here. However, we're going to be pulling out the motor and the transmission at the same time. So to make our life a little bit easier, we're going to take off this whole front end, and hopefully we can pop the whole front end off and just slip it out. So now that the front end is completely pulled off of the E36, we have so much more room for activities into here. Now, in order to get to the point where we're at, we had to take off this front cowl piece, which actually had no idea was the whole grill assembly was metal, front bumper, and then the whole radiator core support, and then also the whole secondary radiator core support, and the AC condenser and filters, and whole like radiator and everything else. Now that we're in here though, I did a quick 3D scan of my steering rack down here so that we can start designing and mocking up motor mounts and how we're gonna have to notch and modify the subframe to actually fit the 07K into here. But now it is time to actually get the motor out. Now, this motor, I believe, is a decent shell. So hopefully we can pull this and sell on marketplace. Things like this we're not going to need. The whole intake manifold and fuel line system is just kind of resting on place there. So we can actually probably pop this entire guy off just by, yeah. And now we have access into the cylinder. So I'm probably gonna grab a couple of bolts, try to put bolts onto this so we can hook a hook to the intake manifold, and then probably loop a hook around the head of the block. And then we're gonna try to pull everything out of here. It's really cold. I have to have the garage door open so I have access to my engine hoist to go in and out because my garage door closes about there. We don't have a lot of room, so we're most likely probably gonna snap through this because one, I don't think you want to see me do another time lapse on this channel. Two, you don't have to be standing in the cold rain and wet of Washington State, so you don't really deserve to see the process. And three, I'm just messing with you boys. No one really wants to see you pull out a single little four-banger out of a 318, so let's just skip through that. Skip through the beats of doing an engine pull. You have to take off the hood, number one. Now that we have the whole hood off, that gives us so much more room to actually pull the motor because we can come straight in here, grab it, and go straight out with no worries. But now we have to jack up the car. There you go. Sit back and let me skip through this. Now that the car is completely jacked up, get here and hop underneath it in order to take out all of the wiring harnesses and everything else attaching the whole motor into the chassis. And then we also have to take off the drive shaft bolt and everything connecting the transmission to the rear end because we're pulling them out together as a unit. So next up, my concept of getting the motor all the way out is taking a seat belt, putting a seat belt around my ass, because you know it's the biggest muscle of your whole body, and we're gonna try to tug it out because I'm trying to pull this. And if I had friends, if the homie that's editing my video was local,
get away, back, back, disease, get back, stay away.
But he's not. He's very far away. He's like 3 hours away down in Oregon. So I'm doing this without friends. But I'm thinking, with a seatbelt tied around my ass, I'm just going to fuck my car out, or at least the motor out of the car. So hopefully I can just thrust. Dude, it's working. Dude.
The next day.
And now we got all the motor out. Well, we got most of the motor out. Because now we can come into here and disconnect all of the wiring harness that is keeping the motor still attached to the car. Now, we also have to take out the rest of my gross power steering fluid. It's supposed to be like red. Absolutely cooked. But looking at it, it looks like we are clearing our steering shaft, which is super, super important. That is a big issue pulling it out. The transmission is totally, fully disconnected. So now we just have to run around here and disconnect lines. Our power steering line, that's as tight as possible. So that's definitely holding up the motor. So that looks like it's a 19. Charcoal canister, that doesn't look like it's attached to anything. Whatever this line is, oh, that's actually pretty loose. Oh, that I already disconnected. So you kind of just come around here, tug on the lines that feel tight, and whatever is tight, you disconnect it. And in the next clip, this motor is going to be fully out, boys. And that is just one of my favorite ways to pull a motor, is just kind of learning as you go. It's definitely a little sketchy to be using seatbelts to pull it out. It's probably like 300 to 400 pounds because it is a 4-banger though. So I'm not too worried about the weight of this guy. Now that we have this entire thing disconnected, I can try to pull off the transmission here and start to fab up our transmission adapter and figure out exactly where we have to modify it to fit the 07K over there. Now, I really am super excited with the amount of progress we've made in this video. If you noticed anything from the last clip, you've seen that this side of the engine bay is a little bit cleaner. We have some studs grinded down, some bolts are missing. There's still a lot of other bolts here and there, and a lot of freaking holes that look crusty. And there's still a lot of seam sealer up in here, and we still have these brackets. But if you notice anything, the DME is gone. That's the DME, that's the injectors, that's the OBD1 wiring, and we have so many wires that I have started to pull out. Now, we will have a whole separate video on shaving, tucking, and doing the rest of this, but we have started to shave the bay, and it is starting to look really good. Going from this huge mess, nasty, to this guy with no wires and everything hidden inside of here. For the rest of this video, I really just kind of wanted to do a quick run-by of exactly what I'm doing. If you're new here and have no idea who I am, I'm That Miata, a TikToker with 1.3 million followers, but I feel like a lot of people have kind of forgotten about me because I don't quite do the right things when it comes to social media. I post on TikTok, I do cool builds on TikTok, but they're very specific to the builds. Like this truck right behind me is probably what you know me for, or you know me for the other vehicles that I have. Oh, people know me for the vehicles and the projects I build nowadays, where back in the day, I was just known as being That Miata, which I definitely do kind of miss. So if you're new here, I really recommend you hitting that follow button, subscribe, like, comment, because that really helps me reach more people and can get better builds. But what behind us is an E36 that we're putting in 07K. And I know you saw the thumbnail and the title of the video, so you already know that. But if you're wondering why I'm doing it, well, let's do a quick breakdown. This right here is the 07K, and the reason we're putting this in here is because this right here is the next 2J. A lot of people think I'm joking when I say this, but I'm not. This is genuinely the next 2JZ. It is lighter than a 2J, it is smaller than a 2J because it's missing one of the cylinders, and believe it or not, despite being a front-wheel drive motor, because of the dry sump style oil pan that it has, it's not as tall as a 2J, so it will be able to fit anywhere that a 2J does. It does have a couple of issues. It doesn't have proper rear-wheel drive motor mounts on it, because it is meant for a front-wheel drive application, so we're going to have to fab up custom motor mounts. But once we get enough progress on the motor mounts, you can actually start selling a CAD file or making it easier for people to do this themselves. The bottom is a iron block with forged internals, a forged crank, an aluminum head, and the head was designed by the same team that designed the Lamborghini Gallardo, so it's basically half of a V10. Now, we all love a proper V10, and we all love a proper inline 5. This is an even firing order, sounds absolutely insane, can make 500 horsepower on an unopened block, which is insane, but very comparable to a 2JZ. And that's why I think these guys are really going to be hitting the drift market soon. They're $300 to buy from a junkyard. The 2.5 Jetta, GLE or GLI, Rabbit, Golf, everything. Even the Passat came with these. So you can find these motors in any junkyard, anywhere, and they are dirt cheap. Literally, I was able to buy a whole car with standalone ECU with 550cc injectors, that motor, a single mass flywheel, which a clutch setup and all that is over $1,000. I bought the entire car for $1 grand. And I made $2 grand parting it out. So I literally got paid $1,000 to pick up an 07K. They're insanely reliable. They sound amazing. I know, that sounds absolutely fucking insane. So that would kind of be the quick rundown as to why we're putting that in here. Now you pair that inline 5, even firing order, insanely reliable, 500 horsepower, that is as light as the original M44 that we pulled out of there. Yeah, that's literally the perfect combination to the perfect drift car. And on top of that, it sounds just as cool as a 2J, if not slightly better. If that sounds interesting and you enjoyed that yap sesh, once again, please subscribe, like, and comment, because I cannot tell you how much it helps out. And if you want to see this thing get 07K swap, we're making crazy progress on this thing. I've only had it for like 2 weeks now. This thing is going to be insane and absolutely ripping. And I know for a fact I'm not the first person to 07K swap something, but I do know for a fact that we are one of the first people to do this. I'm telling you, the more content creators like me that do this, sure, my YouTube, not as many followers as my TikTok and whatnot, but the TikTok is picking up a lot of views for this build. So the more people we introduce the 07K to, the more people that are going to realize they can do this themselves and how easy it is. And more people are going to be swapping them in there because the power to weight ratio is unmatched. But with all that yapping being said, boys, I cannot thank you enough for watching this video. This truck is actually listed for sale, so in the next YouTube video, you guys might see the next truck when we reveal it. That itself is also going to be a super crazy build. But I love you, boys, and stay focused.